Hey, everybody. We'll go ahead and kick it off. My name is Elizabeth Paul, and I serve as Manager of Public Policy for the Birmingham Business Alliance. We are so excited to have Secretary Washington with us here today, but just wanted to go over a few meeting logistics first. Videos turned off for all participants, as well as all participants are muted. This meeting is being recorded and we'll make it available on the BBA's website. The chat function has been disabled. I submitted all questions that I received in advance to Secretary Washington, and those questions will be addressed during his comments. And now I would like to turn it over to Kelvin Datcher, who so graciously serves as chair of the Birmingham Business Alliance's Governmental Affairs Committee. He also serves as director of external affairs in Mayor Randall Woodfin's office with the city of Birmingham. Thanks so much, Kelvin.
Good morning, Elizabeth, and thanks for all you do. You make it really easy for me, thankfully, because there's not a lot of time on my schedule right now. So I really appreciate your help. And glad to have everyone chime in, hopefully checking in with us today. Hopefully, as Elizabeth said, we'll all be together again, and Elizabeth will be doing a great job with Daryl Perkins of preparing a great, healthy lunch for us when we all get back together. So we'll send them back to doing whatever they do to get us lunch. But
one day.
soon and very soon, I hope. So are we ready to introduce the secretary, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay. Well, as everybody knows, these are kind of truly unprecedented times for us. So it's really fortunate that the state of Alabama has a steady, experienced hand on the helm in the office, in the Department of Labor here at the state level. Fitzgerald Washington has been the secretary since 2014. Before becoming secretary, he had a very strong career in the private sector, I think most recently with Buffalo Rock. But he's really done some great things since becoming secretary, and we really appreciate him here in Birmingham because he's been very aggressive in partnering with us in bringing job fairs to the people and taking them around the country, around the state, identifying very convenient opportunities to get folks engaged with potential employers, helping people to get prepared for interviews, and then helping them to get that so important job. He's recognized nationally by his service on the National Association of State Workforce Agencies, and also he's a member of the National Association of Government Labor Officials. But he's a friend of Birmingham. Again, he has been here, and Mayor Woodfin is very excited to continue to partner with him. So that means I got to keep working hard with you, Mr. Secretary. And at this time, I'm very pleased to turn over our BBA Government Affairs Committee meeting to Secretary Fitzgerald Washington.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Kevin, Elizabeth, and the BBA membership for this opportunity to provide an update on what ADOL is doing to help so many folks impacted by the coronavirus. You know, this particular organization, BBA leadership, is to be commended on many fronts during these challenging times. I thought first I'd give you a quick overview of our agency for those who aren't familiar with what we do at the Alabama Department of Labor. We are a 99% federally funded agency that manages 6 federal programs. Those programs are unemployment compensation, workers' compensation, employment services, labor market information, hearings and appeals, and inspections. Now, under the Employment Service Division, we manage 51 career centers around the state that provide employment training and job search initiatives. In the Unemployment Compensation Division, we provide temporary financial benefits for those laid off, or the 2 largest divisions underneath the ADOL umbrella. Our current total staff is right at 800. You know, when I first was appointed 2,143 days ago, who's counting? You know, there were 1,100 employees at ADOL. Since then, we right-sized down to a current staff level of 800. You know, one thing that got my attention off the bat back in 2014 was that the unemployment compensation program had been grossly underfunded. I immediately froze new hires and restricted promotions for the first 4 years of my role. For comparison, at the height of the 2008 recession, there were 250 employees that worked in 2 separate call centers, one in Birmingham and the other one in Montgomery. Since the height of the recession, the economy got stronger and jobs were plentiful. Even in Alabama, we recorded more people working than ever in the state's history. 2.2 million people had jobs. Also, a record low number of those who were unemployed registered at 59,000, and the unemployment rate dipped to a historic low of 2.7%. So both in our state and nationally, there was this thinking that whoever wants a job can get a job. Why do we need an unemployment compensation call center? Here's one example. During last year's legislative session, a bill was passed to reduce the number of weeks individuals could receive unemployment benefits from 26 weeks to 14 weeks. The bill passed almost unanimously. Now, I personally was opposed because I knew rural Alabama will suffer the most because these benefits serve as a lifeblood in areas where there are not a whole lot of job opportunities. So now let's fast forward. We rolled into January 2020 with 80 unemployment compensation call center employees, and that number actually got reduced to 40 by mid-March due to funding cuts. Then on March 16th, the state's first coronavirus case was announced. Now, what's transpired after that was mass layoffs around the state, and workers began to file unemployment. Now, let me give you a quick update on some unemployment data. The United States unemployment data for May is 13.3%, compared to 14.7% rate in April, which is a good sign that our economy may be turning a corner and on the road to full recovery. Alabama's unemployment rate for April is 12.9%, drastically up from the 3% rate in March. The April rate represents 284,000 unemployed persons compared to just 67,000 in the month of March. The number of people working stands at 1.9 million, which is down 253,000 people over the year. Now, we anticipated Alabama's unemployment rate for April to hit double digits just due to the mass layoffs occurring around the state. Now, in comparison, the state of Nevada's unemployment rate for April is 28%. So you've got Nevada unemployment rate being 28%. The national rate right now is 13.3%, and we're right at 12.9%. Now, what's disappointing is that a decade worth of positive economic growth was erased in just 1 month. We will be announcing May's unemployment rate this Friday, June 19th. Now let me just touch on the CARES Act program that President Trump signed into law on March 27th. The $2 trillion package provided additional relief for more groups impacted by COVID-19. Now, one of the areas all labor agencies has been challenged with is the fact that the federal government has been really slow to give guidance on how the programs underneath the CARES Act should be administered. It's almost like if you're a school bus driver responsible for getting the kids to school on time, but the system didn't give you keys to drive the bus. Very similar. Well, let me say this. I'm so proud of our staff with the way that we're responding to the enormous demands from employers, employees, legislators, state agencies during this crisis. They're working countless hours to provide guidance on how federal programs work to getting people paid. Our work continues to be in effect with answering a lot of eligibility questions from both employers and employees as we try to clarify the rules not only from the federal government, but also at the state level. We've been cautious with how we respond to certain questions because I don't want anybody to make an employment decision on what ADOL said if the rules, the guidance hasn't been researched thoroughly. So I'm going to touch on the 3 key programs underneath the CARES Act and give you a brief description of each one of them. First is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, or PUA. This program provides unemployment benefits to those not ordinarily eligible for them. These include individuals who are self-employed, nonprofits, gig economy workers, churches, or contract employees. These groups do not currently contribute to the state's UI Trust Fund, but we needed to create a path on how they should apply for those benefits. Our team was on a conference call a few weeks ago with U.S. Labor Secretary Eugene Scalia, and we listened to updates and perspectives since the launch of the CARES Act programs. You know, we heard on the call that Alabama was one of only 12 states to have processed payments underneath the PUA program. So we were really excited about, we were one of the first groups, one of 12, to pull the trigger on getting people paid on the PUA so quickly. The next program underneath the CARES Act is called the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, or FPUC. This program provides a $600 a week benefit to individuals eligible for any unemployment compensation program. So what you'll find is some folks will qualify for the maximum $275 unemployment compensation weekly benefit and the $600 stimulus benefit, which totals $875 per week. Now, for comparison, in the state of Texas, Texas's maximum unemployment compensation weekly benefit amount is $521 a week. So when you add the $600 weekly stimulus, you're at $1,121 per week. Alabama, I'm also proud to say, was one of the first 5 states to pull the trigger on paying the stimulus once we received the federal guidance. And then the final program underneath the CARES Act program is called the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, or PEUC, which allows for an additional 13 weeks of benefit added to the end of their regular unemployment benefit. Now, what that means is a claimant may collect unemployment benefits for a longer period of time than under normal circumstances. Now, for a full listing of these qualifications, we certainly want everybody to visit our website, which is labor.alabama.gov. You know, one of the most discussed elements in the stimulus package is the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, or FPUC, which provides for the additional $600 a week in benefits. The additional $600 weekly benefit will only be available for the weeks beginning March 29th through July 31st. As businesses reopen, one topic that has garnered much conversation in the last few weeks is that some employees are refusing to return to work because of financial benefits received from the CARES Act program. We at ADOL have what's called an administrative rule. The rule is called the refusal of suitable employment, which means if an employer resumes operation and the employer refuses to come to work, the employer notifies us through the refusal to return to work link, which is found on our website, and the employee becomes ineligible and the benefits are stopped. You know, we released guidance on the rule 3 months ago, but the issue really ramped up recently when the governor reopened all businesses statewide. So again, if the employer resumes operation and the employee who's receiving the benefits refuses to come to work, the employee has to notify us through the refusal to return to work link found on our website. Let us know through that process. It's an easy process, and then we make the employee ineligible and those benefits come to an end. So just as a reminder, the $600 weekly stimulus expires on July 31st. We also recently announced that there have been more than $1.5 billion has been paid out in unemployment claims to over 300,000 claimants. Again, $1.5 billion that's been paid out through ADOL to over 300,000 claimants. These benefits fall underneath the 3 CARES Act programs that I just mentioned. Of that, $1.1 billion of those funds are FPUC, the $600 weekly benefit. $34 million has been paid out to the PUA group, or self-employed, or 1099 group. And then $9 million has been paid out to PEUC for those who have exhausted their regular unemployment benefits. Now, to date, ADOL has processed 92% of COVID-related claims. Over the last 3 months, we paid out more total benefits than in the last 7 years combined. We know that there's still some claimants out there who have yet to be paid or are experiencing issues with their claims. And we're continuing to work to improve services to reach that 100% mark. Now, there are 2 types of claims. There's an initial claim, and then there's a continued claim. We encourage all claim filers to file their claims online. These are called initial claims. If the initial claim information is entered correctly, which takes less than 15 minutes, the claim is processed successfully. If the initial claim information is not completed correctly, it becomes a continued claim, and that forces the claimant, in most cases, to talk with one of our staff personnel. The unpaid claims have a variety of issues that take additional time for our staff to do fact-finding and adjudication in order to complete the claim process. The vast majority, or 8% of the claims unpaid, are due to the following: incorrect information submitted when filing claims, i.e. people are entering incorrect Social Security numbers, date of birth, in some cases they misspell their names, and also incorrect direct deposit routing numbers are entered incorrectly. Another reason, the employee reason for separation is not matching what the employer's separation notice is. So again, some claim filers are claiming that they're being laid off due to COVID, and through the fact-finding or adjudication due process, we have to reach back out to the employer to find out if that's the case. And in a lot of cases, those stories don't match. And then we have to make sure we make a determination on eligibility on the facts. And that also adds some additional time. It takes about 10 days for the employer, once they get our notice of separation, to identify what the reason is and then forward that back to us, again, for us to make a determination. Another reason for unpaid claims, and it has to do with the required weekly certification. The required weekly certification update isn't being done consistently. Everybody that files a claim has to do a weekly certification. And we're seeing a rise in claims that our staff has previously already resolved, but the claimants are making mistakes in the weekly certification process. So they have to call us back to settle the claim. So in other words, we're getting double calls. Claimants are filing for the weekly benefit, they're being approved, but yet they fail to do the weekly certification, which causes a red flag, and it forces us to go back and resolve the issue. Because if they don't do the weekly certification, we just assume that they've been called back to work. And then in a lot of cases, we're finding out that is not the case. More than 36,000 claim filers failed to do the weekly certification just last week alone, which has halted the payment process. 36,000 failed to do it. Now, to help combat this issue, we're now sending out direct message notifications to those approved to receive benefits, reminding them to certify their weekly claims and the importance of entering the information in correctly. You know, there are currently 19,000 claims with pending issues that covers over a 60-day period. And again, as a reminder, a completed claim usually takes a minimum of 21 days for us to process. And we strongly encourage direct deposits as the fastest option to receive your benefit versus a ADOL issued debit card. Debit cards usually ask an additional 5 to 7 days for us to process and get you your benefits. Now, the unpaid claims have a variety of issues that take additional time for our staff to do, again, to do the fact-finding and the adjudication. Now, on a very positive note, initial unemployment claims are trending down in Alabama and nationally. 2 months ago, initial claims peaked at 106,000. Last week, there were 19,000 claims filed. There has been over 570,000 claims filed since March 14th. More claims filed than in the last 2 years combined. You know, another thing that we're keeping a careful watch on is the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. That's the trust fund that we manage here at our agency, where employers pay into the fund that pay out that maximum weekly benefit of $275 a week. The balance in our UI Trust Fund on March 20th was $697 million. In April, approximately $115 million was received in state employer UI taxes. The UI Trust Fund currently has a balance of $410 million as of June 5th. So you can see the decrease in the dollars from March through June 5th. Now, fortunately, the CARES Act relief programs are funded 100% by the federal government. And if it wasn't, the UI Trust Fund would have been depleted in the first week of the pandemic. So with more businesses reopening, fewer people are filing claims and are falling off the unemployment status. You know, 2 weeks ago, all labor agencies were put on notice from USDOL about the possibility of fraud. And we know that there are people out there who are looking for ways to scam the system so that they can benefit them because we relaxed so many rules to expedite these payments. You know, a few weeks ago, we were notified by U.S. Secret Service that a Nigerian fraud ring had scammed UC benefit divisions in 6 states. Now, how about just 2 days later, it was brought to our attention by a claim filer that a Facebook page had been created using the ADOL official logo and Alabama Works logo webpage. The scammers, in this case, were enticing claim filers to give them their personal identifying information, or PII, and in exchange, they would be entered into a contest with a chance to win $50,000 and have their claims processed faster. It was a scam. So we reacted quickly by contacting Facebook, and the account was deleted. We then notified Steve Marshall at the AG's office and U.S. Secret Service to ask for assistance in locating these perpetrators. And how about this? Just last week, we received information that 2 Metro jail inmates, with the help of a jail employee, were trying to use a burner phone to apply for benefits. The unemployment benefits were going to be used to buy cigarettes, drugs, and other goods and services in the Metro jail. You know, please know that we realize that there's a lot of tension out there from those who have been laid off through no fault of their own, and the process has been slow to get them the financial benefit to those that need it. You know, I've heard from a lot of disgruntled workers who are asking, why is it taking so long to get these benefits? And I certainly understand those questions. I certainly understand those concerns. You know, one thing I've noticed during this crisis, there's a real high level of ugliness. Let me just say this. You know, my responsibility is to protect the safety and the health of my employees. You know, what's sad is that some staff personnel with ADOL around the state, they've been threatened. You know, in one instance, an angry claimant threw a brick and smashed front glass at one of our career centers in South Alabama. Another incident, a person threatened to drive his vehicle through the front door of one of our career centers in Tuscaloosa. We did call the police in to settle the situation. And then here at our central office in Montgomery, one staffer who had worked long hours one evening was leaving work late, and somebody was trolling our building here in Montgomery, followed her to her car, and said a whole lot of nasty things. So, you know, for the record, you know, we plan to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law those who we found guilty of threats against our staff. You know, finally, you know, I mentioned earlier that we're continuing to find ways to improve our claim process, to expedite getting more people paid. One of those steps was we hired 2 outside call center vendors and expanded their hours to a 7-day-a-week service. The second outside call center group has a higher level of unemployment compensation experience and knowledge of the Alabama law to help us with that 8% group to identify issues and get their claims processed faster. We also brought back some experienced unemployment compensation retired employees to help with the group that are struggling with us trying to process those technical claims. We've also hired a group to help us develop user-friendly guides that would give both the employer and the employees step-by-step instructions on how to use the tools we already have in place. This is mind-boggling. Currently, we are averaging over 200,000 calls per day with just under 400 people to answer those questions. And that doesn't even take into account the number of emails that are coming in, but 200,000 calls a day that come in. And we try our best to respond to those questions, those calls as quickly as we possibly can. I know I'm speaking to the BBA group, but I certainly want to give a special thank you to Mayor Stephen Reed in Montgomery and Alabama State University President Dr. Quentin Walls, for allowing ADOL to set up an off-site call center at the Crampton Bowl Multiplex Center and at ASU ADOL. You know, over the last 6 weeks, we've processed over 10,000 claims combined at both locations. So this service is allowing people some in-person service with our experienced unemployment compensation staff for the ones that have technical issues that need in-person consultation. People are driving in from surrounding counties as far north as Huntsville and as far south as Mobile to have in-person interaction with our staff to solve those issues that I mentioned. One claimant even showed up at the Acadome at 9:00 p.m. one night, spent the night in his car just so that he would be in the front of the line the following day at 8:00, which we sort of discouraged, but I certainly understand the rationale. You know, our staff, we're continuing to work tirelessly to meet the demands in the claim process. We just continue to ask patience from claim filers as we're making the necessary adjustments as we navigate through this process. So, you know, I'm confident that Alabama will rise above this crisis and be stronger, better than ever before. So, BBA Group, that's my update. I'm certainly open to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Secretary Washington. We greatly appreciate you joining us today. I'd like to thank all of our participants and all of our investors who joined us on behalf of the Birmingham Business Alliance. We greatly appreciate it. And also, Secretary Washington, just want to thank you and your staff for working so tirelessly to help all Alabamians and our economy. That was a wonderful update, and just sincerely like to thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this GAC meeting. Thanks again to everyone, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks for all the hard work, Elizabeth. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to coming back and providing another update in the upcoming weeks.
And I owe you lunch when you come back to Birmingham.
And you know I love to eat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.